Yeah. There it is. Okay, cool. Hey, we're in our second week of All the Fields. It's actually our last week. And I'm super pumped because tonight what we're going to do is we're going to kind of continue the conversation that we had from last week, where we're talking about our emotions, controlling us. But this week, I want us to think about something different. And when I say think, there's a specific reason why I say that. I want us to think about our thoughts, right? So many times our thoughts can control so many pieces of us. And so here's what I started thinking about as I was getting ready to talk to you guys. Is do you guys remember when you were like really little? Like let's say like 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, something like that. And you never really thought about like what other people thought about you. You guys remember those days? Those are good days, right? Like I remember when I was little, I thought I was a really good dancer. Okay? Don't laugh yet. I thought I was a really good dancer. I was always like, family get-togethers. I have like 13 cousins, and then my siblings. So there's like a lot of us, and so I was the second youngest. And so I was always like dancing and goofing around, having a good time. But I never thought about what other people were thinking about me, right? Or I never thought about the circumstance that I was in. I would just dance and have fun and get crazy and do all those things, right? Like that was a blast. But why is it that when we get older, sometimes we care about what other people have to say or what other people think? Because then I remember going into junior high and high school even, I started caring more about what other people thought about what I was wearing, right? I started thinking more about what other people thought about how I talked, right? Or I thought more about what other people had to say about the things about me, right? In my head, there were all these things that kept catching what I was thinking, and I would always get so consumed in what other people thought about me. And it was really difficult, right? Or there were times where I thought I was good enough for something, or I thought I was, doing the right things, or my life was moving in a good direction. That's what I thought. But then other times I thought that I wasn't good enough. Or I thought that I didn't have what it took to do something. And so what I realized as I was thinking about emotions and everything is that how many of us, our thoughts control so much of what's going on in our lives? I think when we really get down to it, our thoughts really push us in a certain direction for life, right? Our thoughts really can navigate us into a specific direction. But here's where I want us to start our thoughts tonight, okay? Is where your thoughts are leading you, is that the direction you want to go? Right? And it sounds kind of funny when you think about it like, well, I get to choose what I want to do. Absolutely. But think about this. If your parents or guardians or family or whatever, if they say, hey, tonight for dinner, I'm making blank. Okay? You get to choose your thoughts on that meal, right? Okay, does anybody like enchiladas? Okay, can I just share something with you guys? I don't like enchiladas. I know. Hang on. Same? Okay. There's just something about, especially red enchiladas. I don't know why, but I just really don't like it. Okay? There's just something about the flavor. I don't know. My wife likes it. So last night, my wife's like, hey, I'm making enchiladas and you're going to deal with it. And so for me, I was like, well, I can go into this in a couple different ways. I can say, this is going to suck, and I'm going to hate this meal, and then what's going to happen? I'm going to hate the meal, right? Or I can go in and say, well, maybe this time will be different. And then maybe it's different. Who knows? But what it is up front, it's where does my mind go, right? My mind is going to set the pace and the direction for what's about to happen in this meal, right? Or when first day of school, right? I know this year's different first day of school. Most of you just woke up and then went and sat on your computer. But think about other years, right? First day of school, how many of you hate the first day of school? Okay, how many of you love the first day of school? How many of you couldn't care either way? Okay, very mixed group here, I like it. But think about this, if you go to the first day of school, and if you're like me, because I never really liked the first day of school. I thought it was weird, I had to find especially when you get to high school, your classes are all over your campus, and it's super confusing, and it's just not great. But think about this, on the first day of school, if you walk into it going, I think this is gonna be the worst day ever, odds are it probably is gonna be, am I right? But if you think hey, there's a chance this is the best day ever, there's a chance that this is a really good day. It just goes up. And so all that to say, our thoughts are going to lead us into a specific direction, but what I want you guys to think about tonight is, are your thoughts leading you where you want to go? Right? Are you allowing your mind and the way that you see the world and the views that you have, are you allowing that to dictate how good or bad your life is? And if you're letting it do that, is where you're at where you want to be going? Is the direction for your life right now the direction that you want to be headed in? Or is there maybe a way that we can change that direction just by changing the way we think about things? Right? As we were talking about emotions last week, I just started thinking, yes, our emotions have so much control over us, right? Like emotions are something that we don't necessarily get to choose if I'm happy or sad sometimes, but we can kind of control how we process those emotions, things like that. But the one thing I thought about is our thoughts. Sometimes just go all over the place. For some of us, we get to think happy thoughts all the time. For some of us, we think sad thoughts. For some of us, we feel like our thoughts are out of control. But the main thing I want you guys to think about right now is this. Are your thoughts pushing you in a direction that you want to go? Or is tonight a night where as you go to small groups and we talk about this, where maybe we can make a change, shift our focus and shift our minds in a direction that we actually want to go? Because I truly believe that your guys' brains are so incredibly designed that we can choose our thoughts. Maybe not emotions all the time, but our thoughts we can control. And we can then say, hey, I think this is going to be the best year ever, and then maybe it is. And we can move in that direction to have the greatest year ever, right? Now, even when you come to Elevate, this is different than we used to do, right? It's not the same. Maybe it's not quite as fun because we were in the room and it got super sweaty and some of you thought that was cool and it just smelled really bad. And every week you guys turned the air conditioning off because you were so gross that the system was just like, I'm done, right? For some of you, Elevate's just different. And so you come to this and you go, wow, it's not as cool. But if we shift our minds to what's important, things can be great. Our minds can think different ways. And so tonight, for just a moment, we're going to take like 10 seconds. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to think back on this year. Now, I'm not just talking about 2020. Let's say school year, okay? Last school year. Close your eyes and think about it. What was your year like? Good, bad, all over the place, great, the worst ever, all that stuff. Now I want you to think about the circumstances and situations that kind of made that what it was. Okay? Now I want you to think about what were your thoughts during all of that? What was your brain doing and what were you thinking about during all of that this past year? Whether it was good or bad or in the middle or all over the place. What were your thoughts this past year? Okay, now you can open your eyes. As you begin to think that, that's exactly where I want us to focus tonight. This past year, with everything going on, what were your thoughts doing? Because in the midst of a crazy situation where things maybe outwardly are just not the best situation, we can choose how we see them, right? We can choose where our mind goes. And maybe this year, as you looked back, maybe there was something that changed your life, good or bad. Maybe there was something that was a major factor in how your life went. Or maybe there was someone who had a major impact and factor into your life. You see, people and things we don't always have control over. People and things we don't always get to say, hey, this is what I want to do. But if we allow other elements and other things to control where we go and to control how we feel and what our mind thinks, if we let them drive, then we're no longer in control of what happens, right? And that can be a super difficult thing. Because what I want us to really understand is that we can control our thoughts. We can't control everything that happens. Our emotions are going to go all over the place sometimes. We can choose how we take care of our emotions. But your thoughts, and I know I sound like a broken record right now, but I really want this to be instilled in your brain, because that's what we're talking about. But our thoughts we can control. You can choose. As Chandler was having eggs thrown at him, he got to choose if that was good or not. I think most of us would have chosen that was not good for him. But we all enjoyed it, and we all chose to think that was great. Because then I asked, what else should we do? And some of you guys were like, let's pepper spray him. Got really dark for a second, okay? But you see what I'm saying? In the midst of situations, we get to choose what's going on. But when we let something else drive our thoughts, we have no control over where they go. And so tonight, I want you guys to open your Bibles to Romans chapter 12. We're going to read one verse, but this is so important for us to understand. We're going to read three different sections of Scripture tonight. And they're all about our thoughts and how we can move forward in these things. Because we all can agree on this. In life, there's so many different paths and obstacles and things that we can choose, right? But what's the one thing that we can control? I've said it tonight like 10 times. What is it? Anybody. Emotions and our thoughts. Gosh, you guys are with it. Great job. You guys are too quiet out here. So Romans chapter 12, verse 2. And Paul writes a piece of kind of motivation, encouragement, and a little bit of direction for us on how we should do things. And it says this. It says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Okay, check this out. Pause for a second. Do not conform to the patterns of this world. Okay, so what that means is there are going to be things in your life that are pretty consistently crappy. Okay, I'm just going to be straight up honest. Okay, you'd say it, your friends would say it, I'm going to say it, your small group leaders would say it. There are things in our life that just consistently don't go well. There are things in life that we could all point to and go, yes, this was bad. Yes, this is bad. Yes, this is bad. And just life is difficult, and life has so many roller coasters and ups and downs and obstacles and all that stuff, right? So it says, don't conform to the patterns of this world. Don't allow the world to tell you what you should do daily. Don't let the world say this is who you are. Don't let that happen, because then you are no longer in control. But it says, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's why we're talking about thoughts tonight. Because, again, emotions, they're all over the place. Like I told you last week, I'm a very kind of two-emotion guy. I'm either super mad or, like, I'm super happy. You guys almost always see the super happy unless you make me mad at camp, and then we have, like, one of those, like, hard conversations. But that's just me, right? Emotions are just something that we can't necessarily control, but we can choose what we do with them. But the one thing we can is we can renew our minds daily. We can renew our thoughts daily. We can choose what we think and how we think about something, no matter what it is. Anybody scared of the dentist out there? A few, really? Not more? All right. Wow. I'm actually really shocked at that. I hate the dentist. One, they always put like their hands in your mouth, which is what they're supposed to do, but like I don't like it. And then they ask you questions when they're doing that. And then they expect you to be able to, like, speak clearly, and then they put sharp things in there, and they're like, does that hurt? And you're like, yes. And they do it again, and then they're like, okay. It's just a terrible time, right? But I can choose to think in my mind, as bad as this is, there's a reason the dentist exists. And it's a good thing. It's keep your teeth healthy and make you smile good, right? I can choose that. I can transform my mind. Second part of that verse says this, and this is so important. If you have a pen, highlight it, underline it, do something with it. Don't forget this, but it says, then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is. His good, pleasing, and perfect will. Here's what that whole thing is saying. When we transform our minds and choose what our thoughts are and rest in God, we will truly understand, believe, and see that God's will is perfect. Circle, highlight, underline. That's what you said. Yes, do that. Do something. When we choose what goes on in our brains to choose to trust and believe and have faith in Jesus, we then can see his perfect will for our lives. When we choose, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter what's happening with our families or our friends or school or COVID or whatever, we can choose how we view things. And when we renew our minds by trusting in God and having faith in who he is, we will see his perfect will for our lives. We will be transformed in it, which is so huge. Again, it's all mentality. It's not saying, hey, you just got to do this. No. Transform your mind daily. And for some of you, you're asking this, well, how do I do that? How am I supposed to transform my thoughts They just kind of show up. And that's true. Your thoughts do just show up. But we also can overcome mentality. If you play sports, you know that when your body is pushed to the limits, sometimes you just want to give up, right? And it's easy to just quit. But if you continue to push, you can overcome anything with your brain, with your mind, with perseverance up here. That controls your body. It controls everything. But again, some of you are asking, well, how do I renew my mind? How do I do that? Because there's so many bad things in my world and in my life. And here's where I want us to start tonight. You find people that you can trust and you can lean on and you can learn from and you can build each other up. Now, some of you, again, are like, where do I find those people? Look to your left really quick, and then look to your right. Find your small group leader and look at them for a second. There it is. In just a little bit, you guys are going to go to your small groups. Tonight, we're going to have a little extra time because I want us to come up with some practical applications and some real-world experience of how do we do this thing and control our minds. But what you have to do while we're on this earth in our human form and we're here is we have to find people that we can trust who will build us up and not tear us down. Anybody out there, don't raise your hand because they might be sitting next to you. I get it. It's awkward. Anybody have a friend in their life who is just negative all the time? Okay, you're raising your hands. Good. Hopefully it's not the person next to you. Don't look at them. Don't look at them right now. But no, think about it. If you have somebody that's negative in your life, what do? You probably get negative too, right? Every time I talk to people and they go, well, no, my friends, they're really negative, but I'm the positivity. I mean, like, think about it. Like, one of you is going to lose, and I think we all can agree sometimes, more times than not, it's easier to be sad sometimes than happy. Would you agree with that? Like, when you look at the world, there's a lot more sad sometimes than there is happy. So if you're the one positivity piece in your friendship circle and the rest is all negative and, like, hates everything and, like, doesn't like anything at all, like even ice cream, they just think it's gross, get away from them. They're bad people. But think about it. One of you is going to lose. One of you is going to break. And I would bet that it's not the one positivity piece. Now, here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying you just drop all your friends. I'm not saying that you stop being positive and you just go with it. And I'm not saying that you can't change your friends. I'm not saying that by any means. But what I am saying is you have to find people and have a group of people, a circle that is like you, or at least has the same goal in mind. Okay? And again, why I say that is because if you don't have people you can rely on, if you don't have people that when you are struggling or your thoughts are going in the wrong direction, that you can say, hey, listen, here's where I'm at, but I need some encouragement, I need some love, I need some care, I need you to coach me up. If you don't have that group of people, you will continue to go negative. You'll continue for your thoughts to be bad. But when we have that group of people in our lives, we can build each other up. It's not always going to be perfect. One of us might be a little more built up than the other at times, but as you continue to build each other, you'll stay close to each other. And you'll keep moving forward, and you'll keep growing, and you'll keep becoming better. So I want you guys tonight to turn to Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17. Because when things look difficult, you'll have somebody or a group of people to turn to and say, I need help. And then when they turn to you and say, you know what, today I need help, you're there to support them as well as they mentally go through life, as they try to control their thoughts and their emotions and everything. They might go, you know what, I'm in a bad spot right now. I just keep thinking everything sucks. I just keep thinking everything's terrible. I need some encouragement. They're there for you. Or oftentimes when you have that group, before you even have to say, I need you, they're already there saying, I'm here for you. Doesn't that sound like a great group of people? Because the cool thing is they're here tonight, and you're about to hang out with them in just a couple of minutes. Proverbs 27:17 says this, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Circle, highlight, underline, do your thing. If you have a Bible, don't tear it out. I had a kid do that once. He's like, I'm going to keep it forever. And I was like, don't do that to your Bible. But remember this. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. If you find that group of people, which hopefully they're here tonight in your small group and you can see that, as you want to grow and get better and change your thoughts and your mindset and your goal in life, they're there to do the same thing. So when you need them, they're there. When they need you, you're there for them. Because when you think about friends, the best friends are the ones that before you say a word, they already know what's going on. Before you say, I need, they say, I am here. And that is why we do small groups, people. That's why your small group leaders show up every week. I say this all the time. That's why these adult small group leaders leave their families, jobs, whatever, have a long day, and they still show up to hang out with you guys because they want to walk through life with you and help you. That's why we have consistent small groups every week, for you guys to talk as a group and not have outsiders coming in and bouncing off where you don't feel comfortable and safe. We want people that you can rely on to be there week in and week out to talk about where your mind is at. Because what I want for you in your small groups is before you need to say, I need help, they say, I'm here for you. That's what we want. That's what I truly believe is happening in your small groups. But we get to choose our thoughts. Our emotions, sometimes they're all over the place. Our emotions are inside of us. We get to choose how we deal with them, but we don't always get to choose how we feel. But our thoughts, our minds can control our thoughts. Our minds can overcome anything else and can, even in a dark situation, even in a bad situation, even in a scary situation, you can choose to say, I can beat this. You can choose to say, even though this sucks, I can get through this. I'm going to be better after this. You know what? It's not that bad. You can choose to say those things and for your mind to get right with it. Or you could choose to say, yeah, this sucks, and it's never going to get better. For many of us during COVID, we've probably said that a handful of times, right? Anybody feel like COVID's never going to end? Anybody feel like, what is happening with this virus? I felt that way. Anybody felt like why? If you've woken up in the morning and then you thought it was a dream and then you looked at Instagram and saw, no, it's real, and you just screamed, I'm there too. I'm with you. But in the midst of that, we have to choose how we think and how we process. We have to choose what we do with our minds. We have to choose how we move forward with things. Because everybody's life is heading in a direction. And our greatest thoughts control that direction. But is that the direction that you want to go? I want you guys to turn to Psalms chapter 19. Every single day we have to make a conscious decision of what direction we want to go. We have to make a conscious decision of how we're going to view life that day, of how we're going to view our friends, how we're going to view our families, how we're going to view school, how we're going to view COVID, how we're going to view anything. We have to choose how we see that. Or else our thoughts just wander. Our thoughts become out of control. But Psalms chapter 19, verse 14, it says this: May these words of my mouth and this meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, Lord, my rock and my redeemer. This is us speaking to God and saying, I want my mind, I want my words, I want how I process things, I want every part of me that I can control to be for you. I want it to be pleasing in your sight. I don't want to always be the negative person. I don't want to always think that things aren't going to get better. I don't want to always think that things are just worse and out of control and I can't do anything. I want my thoughts, I want my mind, I want the direction of my life to be pleasing to God. That's the prayer that we should be saying. God, I want everything that I think, that I do, that I say to be for you. But tonight I want us to begin by controlling our thoughts. Trust me, I know that this is not as easy as me saying it right now. I know that this is not something that you're going to wake up tomorrow and everything's going to be perfect. Your thoughts are going to be right where they should be, right? Everything's going to be great. It's going to be any of your moms watch the Hallmark Channel? Anybody? Okay. Anybody here watch the Hallmark Channel? Okay. All right. Not as many adults. Okay. Some kids. It's good. The Hallmark Channel is all those sappy love movies and everybody is just friends, but not in the beginning, and then they become friends later. It's just weird, but it's good, right? But that's not going to happen tomorrow where it's a movie. It's not going to happen tomorrow where everything's just great and dandy and just swell, right? They say that stuff on the Hallmark Channel. It's not going to be like that. You have to choose consciously, make a decision every morning. What am I going to do today? What am I going to think? No matter what's going on that I can't control, how am I going to process it? How am I going to choose to see that? And that is the direction of your life. And I want you all to have a great direction. I want you all to know where you want to get to and be moving there. Not allowing your emotions or your thoughts to control that. Not allowing other people, something or someone to control that. I want you to choose today, tomorrow, the next day. This is how I'm going to be. And so I kind of started writing down these ideas. Anybody sometimes feel like prayer is a little awkward? It's okay if you do. You don't have to raise your hand. I get it. Sometimes praying can feel a little weird. Sometimes it can feel like I don't know exactly what to say. I don't know, how I should talk to God. But what I did was, and just say, I want to go through a 16-second prayer. Now, the first time we say it together, probably more than 16 seconds. Don't time me. Somebody's gonna. But just a real quick prayer. And what this does is it helps align everything that we need and want and everything that we want to focus on. Again, it gets our minds right. And this is something that you can write down. Your leaders have this as well as you go to small groups. If you need to get it later, that's great. But I want you guys to go through this with me. And this, again, aligns everything for us to move in the right direction. So I want you guys to close your eyes. This 16-second prayer. I want you guys to repeat after me. We're going to say it twice. First time, repeat. Second time, repeat as well. Probably don't have it memorized by then. But here's what it says. You say, God, keep my thoughts pure. Keep my heart real. Keep my hands doing only what matters. Give my parents or guardians wisdom. And give me a vision for my future. Amen. Simple, right? But what it does is it takes us out of the, well, this is over here, that's what, no, it says, this is what I want for my life. Again, it says this, keep my thoughts pure, keep my heart real, keep my hands doing only what matters, give my parents or guardians wisdom, give me a vision for my future. When we do that, that is us mentally choosing, God, this is the direction I want for my life. Let me get everything lined up so I can process, I can think, and I cannot let negativity or my thoughts go out of control. I can control it. And I can move forward in the direction that I want for my life and in God's perfect will for my life. I'm going to invite the band back up. If you walk away with anything tonight, it's this. I want you to know and understand that no matter what's going on, no matter where your life's headed, no matter anything, your emotions, like we said last week, maybe we don't have necessarily control over, right? Every one of us feels differently at different times. Sometimes emotions just flood into us, whether it's happy, sad, angry, joyful, whatever you can think of. But like we said last week, we can choose how we process those. We don't always get to choose when they show up. But here's one thing that you do get to control. You get to control your mindset each and every day. So whether that's dinner, something simple. I hate enchiladas. I really do. I can't get past it. They're gross. But I can choose, hey, you know what? I'm going to try it. Maybe it's better. And even if it's bad, I'm going to go, well, could have been worse. Don't say that. But we get to choose how we process things. And so tonight I want you to just for a minute as we go back into worship, think about this past year. Think about what controlled your thoughts. Were they negative? Were they positive? Were they all over the place? And how could you have changed that this past year? And then when you go to small groups, take this time to talk about where you're at mentally. Take this time to open up a little bit with your small group leaders and with your fellow small group members about how you're feeling and what's been controlling your life. Take this time to say, you know what? I've been headed in that direction, but that direction sucks. I don't want to go that way anymore. I don't want to feel that way all the time. I don't want to think that all the time. I don't want to be the negative one in my friendship circle. I don't want to be the negative one in my family. I don't want to be the one that always sees the problems, always sees everything that's so bad in the world. I want to move in that direction. God, this is who I want to be. God, I want to renew my mind and my spirit and know that your will is perfect for my life. I want to move in this direction, being the light in my friend circles, being the light at my school, being the person that spreads positivity and love to people. That's the direction I want to go. That's who I want to be. But it takes you making a conscious decision. That means you waking up and saying, this is who I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to think about. This is my outlook on life and my direction. So start it tonight. Ask questions. Dive in. And I'll tell you this. Sometimes your small group leaders, sometimes me, we don't know the answer. But we would love to talk about it with you. We would love to be praying for you. We would love to be saying, hey, how can I motivate you to move that? Remember, iron sharpens iron as a person sharpens a person. Each of us should be building each other up, not breaking each other down. Each of us should be pushing each other forward, not pulling each other back. And maybe some of you feel like, well, if I open up my mouth tonight in small groups, I'm just going to be the person pulling everybody back. Don't think that way. Your small group is here to build you up so you guys can be at the same level. Some of you are going to start tonight at different places, and that's okay. When iron sharpens iron, it's not always the same type. But when they hit together and as they're formed and molded and they sharpen each other, then they get on the same level. Start that tonight. Don't feel like you're going to be the one at the bottom. Don't feel like you're going to drag everybody else down. Let them drag you up. Open up to your small groups. Understand that your small group leaders and your fellow small group members are here for a reason. Let's get our minds right. Let's say, God, I don't want to go that way anymore. I want to go this way. I'm making the choice to go that way. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for tonight. Thank you for everybody that's here. I pray that as difficult as it is sometimes to see positivity in the world, as difficult as it is sometimes to see the great things that you have planned for me, that we would be able to choose that life. That we would be able to choose, God, I don't care what's going on. I don't care what's happening in the world. I don't care what my friends are thinking or saying. This is what I choose. I choose the will that you have for my life. I choose to see the beauty in life. I choose to see the great things that you have done. In a difficult situation where it feels like it's hopeless or endless, I pray that each one of us would know and fully understand and believe that you have an incredible will for our lives. And that when we feel like we're going to bring people backwards, we'd lean into our small groups. We know that we can bring each other up, that we can build each other up, we can sharpen each other. And when I'm feeling like I can't think of the positive things, I only see the darkness and the negative, that we would look to our fellow small group members and say, hey, I need help. And as our relationships grow, that we would no longer need to say, I need help, but they would say, I'm here for you, I see it. And they would know. God, I thank you for bringing these people together, that we can walk a life towards you together and not alone. And we pray. Amen.